Welcome to another installment in the DataClass in Action series of videos. In this session, we're going to talk about how to update the design of a database the right way. That means without creating any duplication and without pretending that version 1.0 happened differently than it did, because version 1.0 is now in production. So before we get into that, I want to make sure that you've already watched the first installment. The first installment shows how to drive the design of a database from tests to begin with. And if you haven't seen how to do that with DataClass before, I recommend you watch this video, the one that I have selected here, In Action, Test Driving the First Feature. You can also watch the condensed version. That doesn't have any typing in it, or any waiting for compiles to happen. It's about 6 minutes shorter. I've already written the test. This part of the series isn't about writing tests, it's about using them to drive design. What does this test say? Well, it says that if I insert 5 books from 3 different authors, and then ask the database which authors it has books for, I should get 3 authors back in alphabetical order. Of course, if I compile this, I'll get an error, and that error is that I don't have the getAllAuthors method yet. So the first step is to add that to the database. Now, your instinct might be to go edit version 1.0, the thing that we've done all this work to design, and that has all of the other design artifacts in it, all the other procedures for instance, and just add that method. That would not be the right thing to do. What we want to do is add a new version with new design elements. So we're going to make version 1.0 no longer the current version, and make version 1.1 the current version instead. We'll recompile just to make sure I haven't made any silly mistakes, and we still get the same error. So now let's add a design element for the getAllAuthors procedure. So we're missing our return result. Let's go ahead and add that. Gotten authors, and that has one column, name, and that column should have all the attributes of the books, tables, author column. So let's see if that builds. And it does. So now we have this new test. Let's go ahead and run them all. Insert and get book works, but the insert books and get authors does not. It doesn't because the getAllAuthors procedure doesn't exist. First off, that reminds us that getAllAuthors is not actually the name we want. What we really want is authors get all. So now we've got the message we want. Let's go ahead and implement this. So in the getAllAuthors context, we're going to take a SQL step, and that step is going to be to create a procedure for getAllAuthors, and that has no parameters. So we expected 3 rows and we got none because we didn't do our select. So let's say select book.author from book. So plural. We run our test. Now we have too many rows, and the reason is we didn't say distinct. So again, we'll rebuild. Now we have the right number and right order. Now just for fun, let's say, well, we want it in reverse alphabetical order. So we reverse the order of the test. We rerun the test. We see it's failed And that's because we're not really specifying order, are we? So we're going to add an order by clause. Our tests still pass. Now, one of the steps of the test-driven development process is to then go refactor. And looking at this code, I can see that there are a few little quality things I might want to change. For instance, I might want to alias this column, just in case I ever decide to change the physical name of the gotten author's result set. After rebuilding, our test still passes. So we've gone through the whole process. We started with a test that specified what we really want. We made the change to the database class that we needed to make. We repeatedly validated our changes as we were going. And after we were done, after we saw our test pass, we went ahead and refactored. And we did all this without denying the fundamental nature of a database. And the fundamental nature of a database is that it grows in versions. It undergoes several metamorphoses over the course of its life, not just one big transition to something like a normal .NET object or a normal Java object. So I hope you enjoyed this session. It certainly was a lot shorter than the last session. There will be more to come.